Welcome to the Nerd Pow Wow. Stardate 79122.7.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
All right. Follow us on YouTube, where we upload new videos every Friday, or check us out on your favorite podcast platform. Spoiler warning, we do deep dives on character storylines and theory crafting. With that said, Wayne, what are we talking about today?
Well, nerds, as everyone just heard, resistance is futile. We're going to talk about our favorite Star Trek villain, the Borg. And so a lot of you know the first appearance of the Borg, if we're talking about our timeline, was Q-Who, the second season of Star Trek The Next Generation, when basically Q wanted to be a part of the crew.
Oh, man.
Card says, I don't trust you. Boom. And all of a sudden, they're 70,000 light years from home. Well, of course, we're explorers. Let's check it out before we try going that 75 years home. And they discovered the Borg. And, well, and the Borg were an important part of all of Star Trek. Voyager, they had to go through Borg space to get home.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like Voyager was born during the writing of the episode Q-Who. Like, oh, a starship 70,000 light years away, stuck trying to get home. That would be cool. And somebody put it on a shelf.
That's exactly what they did.
That's fair.
Or some writer watched that episode years later and was like, we need a whole series based on that.
Because that's kind of why they introduced 7 of 9, because Kess was one of the main actresses, and ratings were in the garbage. So they brought on 7 of 9, and that brought him right back up.
It's crazy how that would boost the ratings up a little bit.
Yeah.
It was good she could offer support to the season and really make a big thing out of it, you know?
Well, what's funny about that is absolutely Star Trek is guilty for bringing in a pretty face sometimes in a tight outfit to boost whatever ratings and have that sci-fi girl whatever, but 7 of 9 ended up being so much more than most of those kind of roles. She ended up being a great character. To this day, he's still acting in Picard and a potential series spin-off now. She's fantastic.
Oh, she really is.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I didn't watch too much Star Trek. Now, I'd see what my mom was watching at the time, and man, 7 of 9, she would definitely garner my attention as a kid. But
there's probably many.
To boldly go where no seraph has gone before.
Yeah, right. So my Star Trek experience is a little bit limited, but I for this episode, I definitely wanted to dig into the Borg, so I looked into some the Next Generation and the Q-Who episode. Man, Q's a real jerk.
Dork.
Because that's really how Star Trek: The Next Generation started. Was Q put humanity on trial?
Yeah.
And
it almost lost me at the very beginning of The Next Generation.
Yeah.
It's so over the top corny.
And really, the first episode, Farpoint Station, really it was a nice starting point, but like you said, that probably lost a lot of people, and they had to maybe start over again.
Yeah.
As they had more episodes, like, okay, I see what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of shows have to grow into themselves. A lot of shows, they're going to find their audience, find their footing, find their period in a way.
Did something happen between the second and third season? It seems like the CGI got way better as the seasons progressed. Like, it feels like in that series, it seems like it progressed rather rapidly. Because the Q-Who episode, space looked, it looked good, but when they were hiding from the Borg ship in which episode was that, when Riker's got the ship? I think that was
Best of both worlds.
Best of Both Worlds. Yeah.
Yeah.
In that series, like when they're hiding in the gas clouds, oh man, beautiful, beautiful special effects in that.
I think it's just budget.
Fair.
I think the first couple seasons paid off. They started garnering a much better following, and because the Next Generation did something the first one didn't do, and that was it garnered a much wider audience type. It wasn't just guys and nerdy guys watching it. It had a home viewership, so there were families sitting down to watch it. Housewives. I mean, you just said your mom, your
Yeah.
mom's watching Star Trek. I brought her up last time. My friend Lee and I were just talking, and she became a huge Star Trek fan because of her mom. It's just, it was. I don't think there were a lot of girls running around talking about the original series, but
No.
Next Generation had, garnered a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Best of Both Worlds really is where the Borg really start. Yeah, there's Q Who, but that's just kind of an introduction.
Yeah.
Best of Both Worlds is just the Borg have evolved. They understand humanity. The way they're going to be able to overtake humanity, they need a spokesperson, someone that they're going to just gather all this information of, and that's what Locutus was to them.
Yeah.
But then again, that was their downfall because that's how the humans were able to stop them before they took over Earth.
Yeah. I think Q did an excellent job establishing them as a real threat and really showing you what those stakes are with this group of people.
Yeah.
So I like that, and Q wasn't as much of a Borg episode as some of the other ones I've seen so far, but it really nails that kind of tenacity that the Borg have, that single-mindedness of like, we want to do this one thing, we're going to throw everything we can at it, and there's nothing that's going to stop us.
They're very Terminator-esque.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
They had the same kind of ominous, unstoppable force and single-minded, unstoppable force, which is even more dangerous than something that's powerful. Something that's powerful and focused on a single goal. That's frightening. I mean, it's a frightening. That's really well done. That's a frightening thing to encounter.
And then they continued on with Iborg. It's when they found that Borg survivor Hugh. Well, they named him.
Yeah.
And over the
Three of
time,
five. I think it was 3 of 5.
yeah,
Was an
3 of 5.
original name.
but the whole plan was to inject them with the nanobots or the nanobites, and they were going to put a virus. So they're going to send them back with a virus. But then Geordi became friends with them, and they said, "Hey, Picard, you just need to talk to him before you do this." And
Well, the whole concept of the Federation making a organic weapon was a little bit outside of their.
I was actually I was thinking about that. So don't they have kind of like, doctors do no harm, that type of a thing? I know Star Trek, like, they have something like that, is using a sentient being as a bioweapon, breaking any of their oaths or something, or like, I think what are they supposed to be, explorers? Like that, they seem pretty aggressive for explorers with some of their actions.
sometimes.
It was more of a,
Yeah,
that was
because
more
they
of a- it was more of a Kirk maneuver than a Picard maneuver to me. Like, I could see Kirk doing it. Kirk was decidedly rogue
A
a
little brash,
lot,
kind of.
but yeah.
well at this point, Picard hated the Borg, so that was just pure hatred until he got to meet Hugh, and that's when he decided to send him free. And then later on, one of the admirals said, "Hey, I disagree with what you did there. If you get a hold of one of those Borg again, you put the virus in him and you send him over." I mean, Picard was basically ordered to do that next time.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. There's a desperation against an unstoppable force. We're saying, that
Yeah.
it's. I mean, the idea of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one was born in Star. I mean, that wasn't born in Star Trek, but was, focused on in Star Trek. It's
Yeah.
a big thing, but it's still. Oof.
That's a big Spock phrase.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I guess I would have liked to see, because I kind of like when characters playing with their arms tied behind their back a little bit, right? I kind of would like them to see appeal to some kind of higher narrative in that episode, like to really say like, hey, the Federation says this about the thing or whatever. But
Yeah. And
yeah, I mean,
then we saw.
yeah, they touched on it. I mean, Jordy was kind of the representation of, hey, aren't we supposed to be a little better than this?
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
but
But then later on, it was the end of season 6, beginning of season 7, episode called Descent, where Hugh did go back to the Borg, but the fact that he had become a solo mind, it basically screwed the Borg up. So there was a
yeah,
good portion of Borg that were just lost. And
yeah, they
Data's
scrapped
brother
it.
Lore found them, and he took over. They needed a commanding voice, and Lore took over the Borg.
Yeah, it
And that
was
was
when
what that
Lord
whole
took
episode
over that
was.
It was when Lord took over the Borg that Hugh separated again because
Right? Yeah.
he was against um the Borg. As a matter of fact, that's kind of the whole theme that they revisited with um Girardi, putting someone
Or
into that
yeah.
conscience. I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
Sorry, I'm allergic to assimilation.
Will be
Um,
assimilated.
but yeah, so that idea was a little bit of a revisit there. Was Girardi creating a faction of Borg with a conscience and empathy?
And that's something happened in Voyager. Is then they came up with the Borg Queen.
Yeah,
Now the Borg Queen made its appearance in the Next Generation movies, because I guess there's supposed to be some overlap in the Star Trek Next Generation movies. Voyager is happening, and Voyager is in the Delta Quadrant, so there is a little overlap with the Borg Queen there.
yeah, their star dates are
Mhm.
same. So yeah, and then that movie really uh raised some questions how she felt that the perfect creature was a hybrid mechanical and uh biological. So she was actually adding biological skin to Data to make Data, because that's an ongoing theme that isn't really spoken but is absolutely a theme, is that the Borg Queen is looking for a mate.
Yes.
You've got Locutus, you've got Data, you got Girardi. I mean, she's absolutely pursuing a mate, or at the very least a peer, someone that she's the hive of drones. So she's one in many, and so she's looking for another one.
She even tried that with Seven of Nine in one of the episodes,
Yeah,
where she did not assimilate Seven of Nine. She wanted her there as her human half.
yeah, almost a consort.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a neat little psychological thing where you've got the queen bee, a sentient queen bee, one that that's recognizes self, has an id, that being in charge of something that is a hive mind. She's still set apart from that. The loneliness of that, even in a mechanical thing, has to be a driving factor, especially if she's got some kind of core. I forget what her original race was. They said it one time, but they just gave it a number. It wasn't like it was Romulan or
Yeah.
Klingon or something. But that was that's a neat idea to have in there.
now, were the Borg originally a race, or did they only assimilate other races?
They never really went back
Yeah,
further to them being just a race. They've always just been Borg. I mean, obviously they had to start somewhere,
Yeah,
but they Star Trek never actually went into their very
history.
past.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. That's a ongoing mystery. That's
Yep.
hopefully something to be told at some point in time, because it'd be really interesting to see. Um, it'd be really cool with the. I've thought about this before. It'd be really cool. So they use the nanites, nanobots, whatever they call them, but that's how they're assimilating, etc. It'd be great if those were the Borg.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
The
Yeah.
Borg being a uh like a technobiological entity that itself is the nanites. So when something landed on its planet that was foreign to it, it assimilated it.
So that's very interesting. You would think that over the course of time, they would have assimilated that information from because the humans, I guess the humans created it, but you would think over the course of time they would have eventually found a way to assimilate that knowledge,
Yeah,
but
but
they
maybe the
never
Borg
did.
do know. Maybe yeah, but you're right because I don't know if the drones are actively communicating with each other, but I don't know if they are downloaded with the history of the Borg. You know what I mean? I don't know if they're like they're backdated or if they're just one with the current voice. You know what I mean? That's another curiosity. That's different.
Maybe
I'm
it's
not
just
sure
like
how that would
send
work.
and receive data, but no like hard drive of data in their brain. Maybe.
Right? They
Yeah.
don't have storage. Because what does Picard remember of being Locutus other than flashes and like little nightmares?
He did say he remembers everything.
Does
When
it
they
say
pulled
that?
him out, he said he remembered
Sure.
everything.
So yeah, it's curious because he should know, and he did have some working knowledge of the Borg.
Yeah.
That's what they kind of used.
Hmm.
But you'd think he would know the history or where they came from or
Yeah.
something else if there was some kind of data dump once you were assimilated. It makes me think that there's not.
Yeah, and the Borg just standing still when people come on their ships until like they mess stuff up.
Yeah.
I think that's almost kind of telling that they don't really have that knowledge of what the other Borg know until they need to know it.
Right.
So maybe
Until they're
maybe it's just
activated.
that they're a very reactive race in that way.
Well,
If
I think the drones are like fingers.
yeah.
They are.
Unless
Yeah.
it's unless it's they're somehow separated and reattain their own persona that they're just a working extension of the whole.
They
So
they must have started as something different because if that wasn't in their nature to be able to adapt to personalities, then um what's his name? Hugh would never have existed. Couldn't have. They wouldn't have been capable of even possessing that level of thought.
right, well, there's I think it's that the host is subverted, is suppressed. Hugh at one point in time was just a human, and he was
Right.
assimilated.
Oh, okay. Hugh was
He was
assimilated.
he was
He
assimilated.
was. Yes.
Almost all. I don't know that there's an instance of a Borg that there isn't a Borg baby. I mean, they had that in
Okay.
the one thing where they're trying to grow some
Yeah.
Borg infants,
They've kind
but
of gone back and forth with that because they talk about the Borg incubation chambers.
Yeah,
mhm.
that's what I was thinking. See, he was one of those
So,
incubated Borgs.
and then the one episode of Star Trek Voyager where Seven and Nine's DNA fused with the Doctor's mobile emitter, and it created futuristic Borg. But it started out as a child, a
Right.
baby in an incubation chamber, and then it grew. So I've seen Star Trek go back and forth with that. They're just assimilated, but then they've had Borg babies before. Just like in Star Trek Voyager, there was those Borg children
Yeah.
that they ended up gathering up at one point.
Yeah.
So
What did they
that
call what did they call the former Borg in Picard? They called them something.
Hmm.
People that were Borg that were being deborged.
When
no,
they when they took Picard in Best of Both Worlds, they I thought it was weird that they put his clothes in a drawer the way they did. Like, why didn't they just send it out into space or assimilate it into something else? Like, why is it just in a drawer?
or just drop it on the floor.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I thought that was a weird, almost human like touch to the Borg's
Yeah,
action.
Yeah. They called them XBs. It's the most
XBs,
unoriginal thing. X Borg. Like,
X
oh my god. Only humans would name something that lame. Oh, the XBs? Yeah, yeah. God. But
I do remember watching Picard, and when it was the end of one of the episodes. I can't remember, but it's when they showed the Borg cube. It might have been after the first episode they showed the Borg cube. I'm like, oh, the Borg.
yeah. Yeah, I like I like the idea of the queen, even though I don't feel like the queen belongs to her own people. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
she and so that her having this like thing back and forth with Girardi, and then essentially she's almost assimilated herself. She's now part Girardi, part Borg. She's not just the Borg. It's she's the one example of resistance not being futile. Literally, even Picard succumbed, to the Borg. So I wouldn't have thought Girardi's character would have been the one with the wherewithal or mental strength to be the one to resist the Borg, but ultimately she did it. I mean, they were made her Borg, not the whole Borg, but her Borg were literally made kind of part of the Federation at the end of the Picard series.
yeah.
They're so it's interesting to see where that's going to go, but I don't know when they're going to. I don't know when we're going to get more continuance of the next generation. Most of the Star Trek series now are focused on before, along the time of Strange New Worlds,
Yeah.
pre-Enterprise, or pre-Kirk, and then way in the future with Discovery, because that's the um, Starfleet Academy is based in the future that uh, what do you call it went to this Discovery went to.
Yeah, the
So I don't
29th century.
Yeah, so I don't know when we're going to get more
Well,
Borg.
there's no mention of the Borg whatsoever in the 29th century. It's like they're not even worried about them anymore.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. And they don't ever talk about what was it? I always forget the name of the um species. What was the species that
8472.
472 that had the war with the Borg? They were almost transdimensional. They were in a different dimensional space.
Yeah,
So,
the species 8472 is so worried about the humans that they made their own recreation on this planet, and they became humans. They made Star Trek. They made the Academy, Starfleet Academy. They made characters like Boothby.
yep.
No, they were so worried about the humans. They practiced
Being
against
human.
them. Finally, they made a deal with them. Like, oh, maybe these guys really aren't trying to kill us.
That was very taken from old school like Russian or United States Russian propaganda where Russia had these cities built and the people lived as American citizens to that was an old Cold War popular thing that they thought happened or may have happened. I don't know. I'm not like it's not my area of expertise, but it was definitely reminiscent of that town of people that don't belong there.
But we talk about Q, and we all thought Q made his first appearance in Farpoint Station. But it was funny in the new one of the Strange New Worlds episodes where John Delancey's voice is there, and
Yep.
there's a Q screwing around. They didn't know that was Q at the time. They just left.
Right,
But
and that character, the Trelane, they don't name him Trelane because
no,
Spock would have recognized it, but that Trelane was from the original series too. They
it
encountered him.
was.
So they got it. I guess I was looking into that because Trelane wasn't a. They didn't know what the hell a Q was when they encountered Trelane, and Trelane was bound to a planet in the when Kirk encountered him. But I guess there was a book written that they actually made canon. I don't know the name of it. I apologize, but I was just glancing through it. But the where they name him as a Q. So they decided to maintain that thing. Has made him like a young Q, and it almost makes sense because that could be his punishment for because Q was disapproving of what he was doing, playing with the humans,
Yeah.
or Federation people. I shouldn't say humans; they're not all human, but that could have been his punishment as being locked into a planet, and then here comes the Enterprise again. So it's very
So
interesting.
they did that in Voyager. One of the Q's punishment was to be locked into a comet,
Mhm.
and then Voyager let him out.
Mhm. Yeah. Well,
Oh,
that whole
Janeway.
thing, Picard was based. The second season of Picard was all based on Q dying.
Oh, what a great season.
Mm-hmm. It really was.
John Delancey.
Yeah.
John Delancey played amazing in that series.
And, it's so funny because I really did not like Q in the Next Generation.
So
I
he
thought
played
it
his
was
part well.
yeah, I thought it was like I don't know, that whole campy like get dressed up in the Victorian thing. It's something they did a lot in the original series, and it was at that point in time it kind of fit more. In the modern day world, I felt like it was still like I'm like, oh god, this is dumb.
Well,
These people are thousands and thousands of years removed from that kind of shit. Why would you even reference it? I mean,
Yeah.
just the idea of that is conceptually just foreign to me and campy. But that character, like the series, evolved, and he became this almost like Loki type character. He became or like this
God of Mischief.
mischievous Puck, like he was Puck from like Midsummer Night's Dream. He was just this imp, kind of all powerful imp. So when he became that, I started liking him much more. He
a little
just
bit of a
meddled,
Loki-esque character, kind of.
yeah, like a mythological Loki, not so much like Marvel Loki, more of a trickster than an actual villain.
Yeah. You know, I think the reason they do some of those like Renaissance episodes and stuff like that is, you know, these guys are actors, so they're a bunch of theater kids, and I'm sure after doing so much sci-fi work, they're like, we could really stretch our legs out and do some Hamlet here, or.
Or they
Yeah.
did Robin Hood.
Yeah, and I bet you three-fourths of them have the ability to sing, and the other 1/4 can figure it out. So. Do they have many musical episodes in Star Trek?
Strange New Worlds had one.
Yeah.
It was, and they did it really well.
They did. They really did.
It was an infection that caused them to communicate. I think it was an infection or something. They were being affected by something that caused them to communicate like that. Like they were aware of it. They're singing, and their face does not reflect the fact that they're singing. They're like, "Why am I doing this?" It was kind of cool. Yeah.
And then Picard or Patrick Stewart, he had a lot of singing performances.
Yeah. Well, he's an old school theater guy. I mean,
yes.
Picard is he's for being as funny and quirky as he is, doing things like being part of what is it? Which Seth MacFarlane series is he on? Is it Family
That was
Guy?
American Dad.
American Dad, yeah.
American Dad.
I mean, for him to even be in that role, it's like, oh my god. It's just funny. It just speaks to how quirky and cool he is. But Wayne, I think you were just assimilated.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Did you notice that, John? All of your systems froze, and you're like, and then all of a sudden you're sitting back in your chair.
Completely different position, yeah.
Yep.
Maybe I just did that.
Yeah, right.
As far as the teleporters go, at this point, I've seen a ship explode and then people be teleported after. So there's no way that these teleporters are teleporting that same person. They're just recreating a new person on the other side. I can't be convinced otherwise. The original body died.
It's transported before it blows up.
No, that's not what I've witnessed at all.
Boom, and then because they're in the transporter buffer.
Yeah, I guess if that's how it works.
Well, they do kind of fix their own mistake there in talking about the transporter buffer.
What is the transporter buffer?
So basically they're breaking you down to energy and transport and sending you from point A to point B. So when you're transported, you're just energy. There's a containment mech field. Like you're basically like data. You're just I don't mean data the character. I mean literally data. So you're just data, and that data can be preserved. So you can just preserve the data. And like there's instances where they don't end up beaming the person in. They just beam them out and keep them in the buffer. They call it the buffer.
I get it. So it's kind of like in a video game where a character has invincibility frames. Whenever they get hit for a couple seconds, they can run into things and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean
that's what they get. They get just like a little invincibility when they get teleported. Okay, all right.
As soon as they start to teleport, that adds them to the buffer. I think that visually we see things because timing timing and wanting cool special effects, etc. I mean, I have huge problems with the transporter system. Huge problems because there is no need for doctors in the Federation if you have the transporters. All you have to do is transport the person from point A to point B without the malady.
Yeah.
You can if you're making them data, you can correct the data. The doctor in Strange New Worlds is keeping his daughter in the buffer because she has some uncurable illness. Fix her in the buffer. It's just data. Manipulate the data. if you're recreating it, so there's just absolutely no reason
It's like,
that
have you ever
you
considered
couldn't do that.
recreating your daughter without the cancer?
Yeah, like don't teleport the cancer. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
you could immortality would be achievable.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you would just teleport yourself into a younger form.
Well, they did that
It,
with Dr. Pulaski. She
yeah.
caught that virus where she got old fast, and they were able
Mhm.
to use the transporter to with a piece of hair in the
Yeah, I mean,
get her
they've
back.
literally touched base on it. There's just no reason. The transporter is the ultimate weapon, tool, medical miracle, and the entire. But Star Trek is guilty of that a lot. Star Trek is guilty for stepping on its own toes all the time. As much as I enjoy it, it is not. It does not stay true to itself.
All right. Fair
Like
enough.
how fast they can travel. You've got this warp 9 limitation and this warp limitation, and next thing you know, they're far exceeding that. The writers had more. They didn't have enough of a hey, these are hard rules,
No,
and
no,
you need to stick by that to make it keep the continuum.
Yeah.
And they just didn't do that.
because they said
So
once Tom Paris hit warp 10, he
yeah,
turned into another creature,
Mm,
and that's when him and Janeway had a baby.
yeah. Some of that shit's so campy and corny. I can't even take it. I can't even take it. What was it like? Who I think it was Geordi and some of the other ones that got turned into those alien
Yeah,
newts or mud puppies, and they were babies from that result too. They're down there living as like, oh god. Ugh.
and then in the episode Relics with Scotty, he was in the transporter buffer for 75 years.
Yep.
Well, get him out.
Yeah. Even the technology, like take the holograms for instance. You've got holograms, and like Picard, they what's his name? Uh, I can't think of his name, but
Moriarty,
no, the Romulan kid that was like the assassin. What's the name of the Romulan assassins? What are they called?
the Riemann.
No, the assassins.
Oh, Tal
Hold on.
Shiar.
Yeah, Tal Shiar. That's what I'm looking for. The Tal Shiar kid. And after he died in the series, they brought him back on the ship as a
Oh,
hologram, and he's fighting the partially assimilated humans on the ship. Why would we ever send humans into battle? Why against the Borg would we not be sending a ship 100% run by holograms? You could even have the hologram being remote controlled by someone somewhere else.
Well, we wouldn't have a
Voyager
story then.
Voyager Voyager had a couple episodes like that where it was a ship full of holograms that the Hirogen created
Yep.
because the Hirogen wanted basically a prey, so they made these holograms basically sentient to make them as powerful prey as they can make them.
Yep.
And they got their asses kicked for it.
Yeah, they just that's the a gripe that I've always had with Star Trek is they come with these fantastic ideas and then they're like, oh, that's too big, we got to cripple it, or we just won't talk about it. Even simple things like Geordie's banana clip that he wore for years literally was a banana clip. And like, why in all this technology do we have a blind guy? We could create these like all these vision things. Yes, why is he? Why? And luckily that him getting those artificial eyes in the
Movie.
movies and stuff like that was finally like, okay, now we're now
But in
we're
Strange New Worlds takes place before that, when that one kid had his eyes blown out.
Yep.
There's this doohickey they put over his eyes. It's supposed to regenerate his eyes.
right. Yep.
Oh,
The tissue regenerator, I forget what they call it, but that thing like fix his cuts and everything else.
Yeah.
They said that, I do remember them talking about Geordi's ocular nerve never forming, and so he was a deformity. So he was
Right.
never. So he was born without it. So they couldn't fix it. But still, and I don't mind. I don't mind things being props like from a funny thing. Like I don't mind that it's a banana clip. I think it's kind of funny. This is a banana. I mean, even you know Uhura's earpiece. Do you know that was a salt shaker?
No, I didn't know that.
In the original series, that's a salt shaker that she wore in her ear as her communicator. So I don't mind when they do that, but it's got to make some kind of sense. You know, you have Data standing there. They
Yeah.
literally created eyeballs for Data to see. It's like, I don't know. It just doesn't match.
You know, I thought he had the visor thing. I thought that was just something that he was like able to help with his engineering work. Like he could like see, manipulate stuff with the engine like a heads up display.
That would have been cooler than it being him just being fancy glasses for a blind guy.
Oh
Because
shit.
he really could. He could see better than
Yeah.
humans with regular eyes with that visor.
Okay.
Yeah, they hooked in. He had implants on the sides of his head over here,
Yeah.
and the visor hooked into them and gave him feed. So they
But it was
basically,
actually LeVar Burton that, when they made the movies, he's like, I don't want the visor anymore.
yeah,
So
Oh.
they said, all right, we'll give you artificial eye, or we'll
that was
make it work.
it's perfect. It was weird for a minute. It was like seeing your friend who got LASIK for the first time. You know,
Right.
like, weird seeing
You're
him
not
without the
wearing
glasses.
glasses.
Like holy crap, I've seen his eyes, but yeah. But yeah, that one thing I did notice I wanted to bring up too. What is it about humans being assimilated, primary human characters being assimilated that have to have the U sound in their name? Locutus, Q, Jurati. I mean, it's all like it's always got that like that U. I'm like,
I think that's just coincidence.
but it's funny. It's like twice is coincidence. 3 times starts a pattern. But yeah, it's just kind of funny though. It reminds me of the Superman. What's the secret between or what's the secret of LL? They had whole comics
Oh,
based on
yeah.
LL being some kind of factor because of Lex Luthor, Lana Lang, Lois Lane, all of these LL things. So
Well, I think
too
Stan
funny.
Lee, he would use like Bruce Banner, that he would use the same letter for the first and last name just to make it a little bit easier to remember, and it rings a bit. But yeah,
It does bring it back.
the TT thing is a little is an extreme version of that for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of funny. But yeah, I love the way, and I like the way the Borg evolved physically too. Like the original Borg looked bad. Like they literally had just junk glued to them and moving around. So it wasn't like the arm got lopped off. Their arm was a foot and a half longer because of the prosthetic.
Oh, I think it's kind of like this
look how
guy.
long that
Yeah.
arm is.
Yeah. So,
They were just, but when they got the budget to make them right and they made them more zombie-esque, they were, they looked more zombie-esque. They weren't just pasty, like a bunch of baking powder on their face.
Yeah.
They had that whole vibe. That it was much they looked better. And they started having I loved in Picard that we finally saw other races that were Borg. Before
Yeah.
then we were always human. And I'm like, why don't we have can you not put a pointy ear on a Borg? I'm like give them a Bajoran, it just takes 2 seconds. You're doing it all that makeup anyway.
Voyager did a pretty good job about doing different races with a couple of their episodes.
Yeah.
Unimatrix Zero is one of them. And then the episode where Chakotay crash landed, and they actually had to use Borg nanoites to. I guess he had some type of brain injury that
they
they
fixed
had
him
to
with
heal
that.
up. But yeah, there was different races in Voyager.
I had a brain injury. Don't put Borg in me. All right, let's establish that as a pact right now.
Let's just say, leave me alone.
No Borg. I'd rather you try the leeches method than putting Borg in me. But,
Oh man.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. What do you say, John?
I was gonna say, somewhat with the Borg, it almost feels like it's an allegory for like, being too much a part of the system, not being an individual, and that type of a thing. Um, I can definitely see a lot of like themes of like, hey, let's just go with the flow, but you have these characters who are very a stark contrast and very strong-willed and very sure of what they want to do in life. You know, everybody in the Starfleet seems like they're in this because they want to be, right? Because they have a society that can produce anything they want. So truly,
I,
nobody's there out of force. And so
true.
everybody is so free willed versus the Borg who just succumb to the will of one, it seems like.
I always kind of thought it was an allegory for iPhone users. No. All the sheep. No. sorry,
Right.
sorry. But, no.
Android sticks together.
Yep, yep.
but but yeah, I agree that there is something to be said, especially with a narcissistic free-willed entity as their queen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To have this all of these drones, just this. There, I think there's a lot to be said. And Star Trek, no, Star Trek has always done that. It's always had that kind of. Is that an iPad?
No,
iPod?
it's my Borg technology, my insulin
Your
pump.
Borg technology. I thought you whipped out some old iPod and put it on you. I'm like, what the
Oh,
hell?
I get vape. I also get pager, and I'm like, what kind of pager do you think I have to stab a tube through my stomach with? Are you kidding me?
I'm
What's
old and I'm
funny,
like, what's a pager?
Right.
what's
Now,
funny, you mentioned the Borg being iPhone. Well, Android, there was a synth war. The synths
Yeah.
tried to destroy humanity. So,
Yep.
you're damned if you do, damned if you don't with these phones.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you give free will, they're eventually going to realize that humans are stupid.
hey,
Like,
before it gets to any of this stuff, Skynet's gonna take us out for sure.
right?
You know, in
Like
Q Who, the Borg reminded me a lot of the Dalek the
Doctor Who.
from Doctor Who. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got. Maybe it's just because they're both in the sci-fi realm and a little bit campy. But that's it really drew a parallel there for me
I'm
in
sure
a lot of ways.
there was some inspiration like there. You know, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Even the what did they call them? The Cybermen.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
cyber,
Doctor
yeah,
Who had even that had a little bit of a Borg like vibe to it. Both of them had that kind of feel to me too. I
yeah.
could see that.
Now I think the Dalek came out before the Borg, right?
The
Oh,
Dalek,
well, yeah.
the Daleks were
Yeah.
old. Those came out
60.
in like the 60s.
Yeah, Doctor Who came out in the 60s.
Man,
So,
you guys know Doctor Who too? My gosh, I really need to
Oh yeah.
catch up with my sci-fi.
well,
Yeah,
all this sci-fi stuff we're talking about today, my dad sat and watched all of it. So I sat and watched with them, and
Yeah.
just over the course of becoming an adult, I often say Star Trek is my comfort show.
Yeah.
If I don't like, I don't want to start a new series. I only got 10 minutes, or let's put on Next Generation. Let's put on Voyager.
There you go.
yeah, I talk all the
Or
time about not being able to rewatch stuff, but I'll rewatch Star Trek shows.
oh, easily, all the
Yeah,
time.
I mean, I just throw one on. As a matter of fact, for prepping for this, I wanted to be a little bit more familiar with some of the where the Borg sit now. So I was rewatching the end of season 2 of Picard because you can just jump into those series. I like there's a memorable quality to it that really speaks to the writers. Like I saw the Picard series one time,
Same here.
and I remembered enough about it to be like just jump into the end of season 2 and remember everything that led up to it. I
Yep.
wasn't lost. I wasn't didn't have to go back and see what was going on. And a lot of series don't keep my attention that well. I've got, my ADHD brain is like somewhere else if it's not engaging me, which it's funny to use the word engage, but
Engage.
if it's not engaging me,
Engage.
engage. But if it's not engaging me, I'm somewhere else. I'm only partially there. You're getting 26.4% of my brain, and that's not. And part of that is not memory. But Star Trek does do that. It has a memorable quality to it that
Yeah.
is special to its peers. Like it does. Not a lot of its peers don't have that.
Oh, yeah. I agree. And just I was going to watch Best of Both Worlds just to brush up, and the wife was like, "Haven't you watched that like 20 times?" Like, Well, yeah, I'm gonna watch 21. I know exactly what's gonna happen, but I enjoy it so much. Like I want to watch it again.
There you
Yep.
go.
Yeah, I think part of it too is that I've done this with one series of books. There's only one series of books I ever reread. It was The Belgariad and the Malorian by David Eddings. But I like the characters so much. Matter of fact, he wrote sequel books that were prequels, just a book like a biography of some of the characters because you fall in love with the character so much. Like I actually find myself missing them. I'm like, I wonder what Garion's doing right now. I'm thinking like I started to like give them give them life in my memory. They're almost like someone that I knew rather than a character in a book or a story or a show. And I think Star Trek does that. I feel like I have a certain kinship with some of the characters. Like I can feel them. I can feel them as a entity rather than a mechanism for entertainment. And that's unique. That's speaks a lot to the casting and the quality of direction and writing.
I think Star Trek did a good job of, especially. I mean, when you have 27 episode seasons, that helps too. But you're able to. All right, this episode's about Data. This episode's about Geordi.
Mhm.
This episode's about Troy. You were able to actually grab onto one of those characters for a whole episode and get their personality. Voyager was good with that. Deep Space Nine. The only one, even Strange New Worlds does that. But the only one,
Absolutely.
and I think that I didn't like Discovery. I didn't
Yep.
like Discovery at all, and it's because they focused on Burnham all 5 seasons. I'm like,
I agree.
It's enough. I can't. I'm done with her.
Yep. No, I think I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's exactly right. I think that having those episodes devoted to a character allowed you to it made them more robust. It you knew more about them. You knew their weaknesses, their strengths, the things their fears. You learn so much about them that it really makes a more robust persona and it starts getting a life of its own.
It kind of builds life of the ship too, because the ship is the sum of all of its parts and the people that run it, right?
Absolutely. I think that's why people get so addicted to like soap operas and stuff. It isn't that these stories are like driving the people. It's that the characters. They've now like bonded with these characters. And Star Trek it has a dramatic quality to it, especially after the original series. The original series was much more action oriented. It dove into personalities, but there wasn't a lot of continually building relationships, with the exception of maybe Kirk and Spock. Their friendship growing and growing and growing, but there wasn't like any romantic growth throughout the thing. But every series since then um has had
Yeah,
that
that's very true.
kind of thing, and I think
You had
that's the dynamic that made Next Generation broaden its audience.
yeah, because Next Generation, you had Riker and Troy. Deep Space Nine, you had Kira and Odo, and then Voyager, you had Ensign Kim and his Flame of the Week.
Yeah,
Oh,
and you kind of had that tension between Chakotay and Janeway,
yes,
but her not being able to go there to her husband's back home, and so you had that, like, there was a whole different kind. It doesn't have to be to have that kind of relationship building thing. It doesn't have to be your typical boy meets girl, person meets person, whatever um, type thing. They did that well. They had a social dynamic that had romance and tension and everything else to it without being able to cross the lines. And that
and
was cool in
Star
itself.
Star Trek Enterprise had to Paul and Tucker.
Hmm. And I love that. I love the stuff with Spock and Chapel in Strange New
Strange New
World.
Worlds, yeah.
It's great. I mean,
Spock's a
are you
ladies'
caught
man in
up?
Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, are you caught up?
Oh yeah, I'm caught up.
Yeah. So the whole like broken-hearted Spock, and especially because this Spock is younger, he's still
Yeah,
grappling with his human side. So he's still showing so much, and I'm wondering how much Chapel had to do with Spock being like, Fuck the human side. I'm
Well,
done with the human side. Everything is logical or illogical.
well, now he's liking Lon Noonien Sung,
Yeah,
and let's see
that's a
what
little bit
happens
of a
with
thing.
that.
Yeah, well,
She
the latest
she might break
episode,
his heart too.
the tension between the three of them in the latest
Yeah,
episode was appealing. I thought it was really good. Yeah, so
guys.
I'm wondering what they're
What
gonna
other?
do. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just no. Go ahead with your point because I was just going to say what other Borg stuff do you guys want to talk about? Maybe we've missed or another point to emphasize.
Well, I think something that's interesting is that in the end of Picard season 2, when the Girardi hybrid Borg Queen heals Seven of Nine, and in the healing process, she gets some of her bioorganic components back.
Uh-huh.
Now they've had a couple different spin-off ideas. One was going to be on the Fenris Rangers, which she was part of. Another one was going to be her as the captain. Because she at the end of Picard, she's a captain of a ship. Um,
Stargazer.
so yeah, Stargate. So they were going to but the next series that's based on the next generation thing is supposed to be Seven of Nine is supposed to be prominent. Now, so her getting her Borg implants, etc., back makes me wonder if we're not going to see a little bit more Borg in that situation, especially with like the Girardi thing, like having these. I think they dropped the ball with Hugh in not in having this like faction of Borg that were were more of a rounded personality. They were assimilating to grow their race to breed, not assimilating. And so like now you've got this assimilation by choice. People that are ill, like that's what Girardi wants
Yeah,
to do. She's like people that are ill or something wrong. We can assimilate them and make them whole again, and increase our numbers in that way. So uh the Borg being this healing thing going through the universe versus this destructive thing is quite the flip flop. So I'd like to see that pursued. I
that's a
really
good
like.
thing. That's a good thing for the nerd listeners. Is would you be assimilated to be a Borg to save your life? Because what type of life do you have if you're Borg?
Right. In do you have the option of being the Girardi like Borg, or are you going to be the like if you're going to be the original type Borg? No, just
Oh, that's my
ixnay on
life.
the
Yeah.
eggnay. but um
But if I get to
the
keep my personality, hey, if I'm just getting
right.
some cybernetic upgrades, I mean, I'm already partially there, so.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
right.
my hope for immortality is nanites.
Yeah,
Replacing cells with nanites, slowly replacing your organic parts with nanites. Shit, like sign me up for the testing.
Well, hey, once they get
I'm here
better at the
for it.
pancreas, I'll let you know.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, quite literally, if you could have coded cells that you would have some measure of control over, that's a whole different kind of life.
Oh,
It's a whole
yeah.
different kind of you're gonna have a whole different kind of society. It's interesting. It would be, and you'd be virtually immortal because you wouldn't have the degradation in cell reproduction then that you would have because you could make your nanites would create themselves at the same quality. It's just interesting. It's a whole thing because then you start getting into the whole what are we? Are we just biocomputers? Is there a soul in there? You start getting into all of that stuff, and it gets a little scary. And
Yeah. What
like,
part's you? What part's the machine?
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
When did I die? And now there's just a machine that's a good copy of me, like they've done in Star Trek with 100 times with Harry Kim and Picard himself. So
yeah.
it's the
Yeah, because the
what
real
not,
Harry Kim actually died.
yeah, Harry Kim's
He
dead.
really did.
Oh.
So he's the fake Harry Kim. Same with the child. I can't remember her name. Brain fart. But she was the one that was born on Voyager, and Harry Kim took her across the threshold.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, it's and even Picard died.
yeah,
He
he's an
died.
android.
And they gave him an android body that would still be mortal. Because they just basically gave him an android body that didn't have the brain abnormalities, so that he could
Yeah.
continue his life, his regular. Because there was a whole theme of that our mortality is what makes us special or whatever, and all that horse shit that I never bought in. My immortality would make me just as special. Thank you.
Exactly. How about you
But
make my friends immortal with me, and then we'll just hang out all the time.
There you
just
go.
like but yeah, the no, and then it was interesting in second season because he's unconscious and his heart's not beating or whatever, and she gives him the 2024 doctor gives him the defibrillator,
Paddles.
and, and it like kind of works. I'm like, the fuck, like he doesn't have a heart in there, and like, what are you jump starting? Like, I don't know. Again, Star Trek. As much as I love it, I really fucking gripe about their inconsistencies sometimes. Like,
And I think you point out all the inconsistencies, and I guess I know all the inconsistencies, but I don't guess I just don't see them because I
You put
know
your
it's story.
rose-colored glasses on, and you're like,
I really
I'm
do.
on board with the
This is
story. Let's do it.
yeah. These are my Star Trek glasses, and I
Yeah.
think everything's perfect.
well, it's just because, like, to me, so like Star Wars is not science fiction. It's not even close to being science fiction. It happens to be futuristic, but it is not science fiction. It's fantasy. It's 100% fantasy. Science fiction is fiction based on science. It's fiction based on technology and how people are using that technology and living in the world with that technology and moving it forward. That's why they like Star Wars. They call it it's like a spaghetti western in the future. It's really what it is. They space western is a real thing. But so because of that though, I want the technology to be, and I'm not a techno nerd. I'm not like a guy that'd be like, I need to know exactly, what these dilithium crystals are doing. I don't need to know all that shit. But if you tell me the dilithium crystals are doing something,
Be consistent
10
about it.
episodes from now, I want it to do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It breaks my suspension of disbelief. It breaks my being submerged in the world. It breaks it. It brings me back to reality. I'm like, wait, because I'm remembering that you're giving me a tool to remember, and I'm remembering it, and now it's different, and it makes me go back and be like, oh, because this isn't real, and it bumps me out.
Wait, it's not real?
Like fuck. Like, thanks, guys.
This guy's not real?
No, no. And his giant appendage on his arm. Like
Yeah,
that is the most
I mean, this is
inefficient thing
definitely
ever.
first generation Borg here. Look at that.
Yep.
He is.
It's got
With
the
his
third
tinfoil
leg and
arm.
everything.
What the fuck? Oh shit. But yeah, the Borg found their place. They became things, especially like when you found new ships, the idea of the sphere being in the middle. What a cool idea of a protective ball in the center of a nest for the queen, to escape and everything else. That really built into that hive mind. It built into the whole idea behind it, that they would have mechanisms to protect the queen outside of just the ship. So they really grew, they matured, and the concepts behind them matured, and I liked that. But
They did have one ship they brought in that episode Descent. It
mhm.
was a ship and then it had like one long arm.
Yep.
It was the one that kept chasing after Crusher when she would try to beam everyone off the planet and then have to run. She'd come back, try to beam everyone off the planet and run. So it was that ship.
Yeah, that one
Yeah.
was that ship actually kind of reminded me of another ship. It almost looked Klingon-esque. Like
It did.
it had that whole vibe. I didn't like the idea of a Borg ship being asymmetrical. That doesn't like it doesn't compute to me. Like I feel like the Borg having these square ball, you know what I mean? like just there was just something that fit to their mechanized nature. Like there wasn't like there needed to be some kind of symmetry to them. But then the Borg themselves were asymmetrical. They know
I,
their piece parts and everything else. So
I was gonna
there's a
say
place for it.
they are a race and like a people built off of just grabbing shit off planets, attaching it to wherever it fits. Like I get where you see that mechanical symmetry, and that makes sense to our world. But I think with the Borg, they're just so wrapped up
Yeah,
in.
See,
That's
this
cool.
ship, I like this ship.
I like the
I,
ship a lot. It
I
just
wish
didn't
they would
feel
have brought it.
important.
That was the only episode they brought that ship out in.
Yeah,
I
that
wish
was
they'd
it.
bring it more.
Yep. And they had there was another ship that looked kind of like a diamond. What was that one?
Oh, the
Uh,
I know what you're
oh,
talking about. I don't know. I I that wasn't around very much.
no, it wasn't. They had. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, they called that one that you just held up there an assimilated transport.
So maybe that's what they did. They
Oh,
stole it
Yeah.
from another race.
Um.
So that makes sense.
Oh, it's just the Queen's ship. Is that
Oh,
one? And then they had that singularity ship in the end of Picard, the Girardi, um,
right.
her ship. So, but yeah, there's a lot. They got a fair amount of ships, but yeah, I mean that's the Borg in a nutshell. I guess we've firmly assimilated their knowledge.
that's fair.
Resistance is futile.
Do they name that Borg, or is it just a drone?
This one right here?
Yeah,
No, he's just a drone.
it's a drone. Okay, I was
Yeah.
curious if he had a specific representation in an episode,
No.
like he was like,
But I honestly don't know if they made a Hugh figure or not.
I don't know.
They may have. I mean, they made a whole bunch. I think they made. Remember when Q
They did.
transformed them into Robin Hood and the Merry Men, and Worf
Yeah,
was like, "I am not a merry man." They made Worf. They made that Worf as
that's
a merry
hilarious.
man, or Friar Tuck, or whatever he was.
That's funny.
I found
Oh,
I found your
Hugh.
are you sure that that's not Hugh?
You know what? I'm not sure it's not Hugh, but it definitely does not look like Hugh.
It does not. This
No, it looks like one of the drones.
it's got to be. I'm looking at the packs. The guy on eBay that's selling it as a Hue figure, but I'm looking over the
I don't.
package itself, and it's not. It just says Borg mechanical enhancement, cybernetic humanoid, bonus Borg action, blah blah blah. It's not Hue.
It might have, if I remember correctly. Now I bought my Borg cube right there on eBay, and it came
Mhm.
with him. But I think maybe they just happened to be separate, but they came together.
Yeah, but yeah, that's just curious. But yeah, I just think that the Borg were they ended up being cool for his. Like I said, everything in TNG was started off kind of low budget, kind of corny, and everything else. But it grew and became
They evolved. Yeah.
way better.
Yeah.
Even the uniforms. Like remember how
Right.
scrawny they looked in the uniforms in the first the first episode that they had that one piece uniform and they just kind of looked like that is not a comfortable outfit. It
See,
was
I didn't like Picard's jacket with the gray undershirt. I didn't like
no.
that uniform.
Mm-mm. I do like the jacket, the two piece, like having a shirt and a bottom.
Yeah,
But
because
I
they
did
always
not.
pull it down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, straighten it up, which is
Yeah.
a very military esque, motion that straighten yourself up. That was a way to bring that in. So
So what about you, Seraph? What's your interpretation of the Borg?
I don't know. I don't have a lot Star Trek wise to put them up against, but I like the Borg. I think they're an interesting race. Very ominous figures, and yeah, anytime they pop on screen, it's kind of gets you to the edge of your seat. So they're at the very least a very interesting species, very unique.
yeah. I like that. I even like the voice.
Oh yeah.
That many voices speaking simultaneous. I love that sound. There's something just ominous about it. Like you hear someone could say a sentence in that voice, or all those voices, the most innocuous sentence ever, and I'd be like,
I do wonder how many voices are actually in that voice.
I don't know.
We should
I-
all say we are the Borg. Resistance is futile, and then just clip them all together. See how it sounds.
Ooh. Okay.
We are the Borg.
Resistance is futile.
All right, nerds. Well, hey, we are the Borg, and resistance is futile.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
It's our voices.
Watch step aside and watch how my adoring fans flock to me.
We give our fellow